Hello, Big Show nerds. We are back to our regularly scheduled program. I am Dustin, bringing you your nerd news headlines for September 17th, 2019. All of the things are happening. We've got plenty of news to talk about, but first we have to hit that real quick intro. Let's talk TV news, shall we? So first up in TV news, this one's not super nerdy unless you're kind of a sitcom nerd, and I apparently have found out about myself recently that I am a little bit of a sitcom nerd. I really like Roseanne, I really like Friends, I really like Seinfeld, I really like the Drew Carey Show, and that kind of brings us to where we're going with this. ABC is doing a cast from the past to start off this the new season of their programming, and it's a play on words if you didn't catch that, as for Blast from the Past. And so what they're doing is they're taking, for this to start off this season, they're taking their current lineup of shows, so the Connors and Fresh Off the Boat, I think something like that. The Asian family comedy, which I'm pretty sure is called Fresh Off the Boat. Anyway, they're taking these properties that they have. They're bringing in some of the older properties that they have. So they're bringing Dan Aykroyd into the Connors because Dan Aykroyd and John Goodman did the Blues Brothers movie together. They're bringing Drew Carey and some of the Drew Carey Show cast into American Housewife, the Housewife show that they have. I think it's American Housewife. I'm so unfamiliar with what's on television right now, but that's not to say that you shouldn't watch this stuff, because it sounds freaking great. Like, the Connors, say what you will about how it has changed since the Roseanne left, but I feel like it's still pretty solid humor, and if you like that kind of humor, then Dan Aykroyd is just going to be that much more awesome, and anything that Drew Carey does, even if it is just a freaking game show, is hilarious. So definitely worth a watch. I can't believe I'm shilling for ABC right now, but that's kind of what I'm doing. No sponsor, I promise. But yeah, so that's pretty freaking awesome, but I just wanted to touch on that because apparently I'm a big sitcom nerd. But also, speaking of sitcoms, we are doing a follow-up to the Seinfeld bit that we talked about a couple episodes back. If you remember, Seinfeld, the contract that they had with Hulu is coming up very soon, as in 2021. So a lot of places were thinking, well, maybe it's just going to go to HBO Max because that's, the Sony has a deal and they are the ones who own the Seinfeld rights right now. But it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like Netflix is going whole hog on trying to have tentpole existing content like Friends that they just lost, or The Office that they also just lost. Now they have picked up Seinfeld. Once Seinfeld's done on Hulu in 2021, it will migrate over to Netflix. So Netflix still has the big pockets while they're waiting for Disney Plus to roll out, and while they're waiting for HBO Max to roll out, and all of these things that are about to happen that are going to put a big old dent in their income. They're trying their best to keep it up, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm down for. I don't have Hulu Premium, so I'm definitely down to watch some Netflix. Though Hulu is going to become part of Disney Plus, so I'm gonna get Disney Plus, and that's just a thing that's gonna happen. Anyway, continuing on, we also have. This is the biggest one for me, personally. Kingkiller Chronicles. We've talked before on Generally Nerdy about the Kingkiller Chronicles and how Patrick Rothfuss has optioned off the rights to Lionsgate for not just a TV series, but also a movie and a series of video games. That had to be the way it went off, Rothfuss said when he signed the deal. Otherwise, he wasn't going to do it. So Lionsgate then optioned the airing rights off to Showtime. Showtime was like, yes, this is one of the biggest selling fantasy books since George R. R. Martin put out his crazy awesome pieces of work. And then Tolkien really is the next thing that comes to mind. That's the kind of air that Rothfuss is breathing. He is in the same room with Tolkien and George R. R. Martin. And honestly, I feel like Kingkiller is the best piece of fiction you're ever going to read, even with Martin's fiction out there, which is also phenomenal. Kingkiller is better, in my opinion. Don't hang me in the comments. That's just the way I feel. Anyway, it's burying the lead. Showtime was all about it. And then they brought in Lin-Manuel Miranda as a producer. And I can't remember who the showrunner is. I left it out of the notes for whatever reason. But Showtime has passed. Showtime said, you know what? We've put a little bit of money into this. I don't think we're going to do it. So Lionsgate now has to shop it around again. And because they had things set in motion, this prequel series, which is supposedly supposed to take place about a generation before the events of the first book, which is Name of the Wind. You should definitely go pick it up if you haven't yet. This was presumably going to be the story of Quoth's family, his parents at the very least. So... and that was supposed to coincide with the release of the new movie, which very little is known about that because the script hasn't been written yet, is still in the process of being written, which kind of is an ongoing thing with Patrick Rothfuss. If you're familiar with the books, you'll know what I mean. So they're optioning it off to other outlets, and right now it looks like the biggest option is going to be Apple. And I don't want to have to buy another freaking streaming service, but I will definitely consider it if that's where Kingkiller lands. I personally feel like it would make more sense for a bigger... though who's bigger than Apple? I'll just leave my opinion out of that because that was ill thought out. So yeah, very interesting, very, very interesting. Definitely going to be keeping tabs on where this lands because it is going to land somewhere because you cannot ignore the power that is the Kingkiller Chronicles. But next, we're talking about Game of Thrones. Speaking of fantasy and George R. R. Martin, Game of Thrones, HBO has another. Remember, they originally said, we've got 5 potential new series that are going to be based on Game of Thrones. Well, of those 5, only 1 has come to fruition. Until now, we have potentially a second. This one is going to tie very feasibly, going to tie more directly into the series that just came to an end, as it is going to be telling us the story of the Targaryens. So it is going to start 300 years before the events of the Song of Fire and Ice series. It is going to be based on Fire and Blood, which is the tie-in book for Song of Fire and Ice. So because the books tie in, it only makes sense that the series will also tie in. And then the last piece of news for TV, guys, is Star Wars, a Christmas special. That's right, I said it. I'm not afraid to admit it. Well, okay. Jon Favreau said recently that he wants to do a new Christmas special for Disney+, which is not a bad idea, because the last Christmas special sucked, was terrible, and absolutely unwatchable. So if they make another one, hopefully that will completely erase the existence of the... No, that's not going to happen. But it'll still give us something, all of the Star Wars fans, something to watch at Christmas time that's Christmas-themed, that isn't, again, that abomination that really is the only place we see an excessive amount of Boba Fett outside of the books and comics. But now we're moving on to movies. And to start off, movies... we have more Star Wars. So this one actually is kind of a catch-up from the last episode, because I didn't realize this happened at FanX, but apparently at FanX, which, Salt Lake FanX Fall 2019, happened 2 weekends ago, and I was there, and I made videos, and you can go watch the first video on Generally Nerdy. You can go definitely watch it. It's a thing that's happened. And How to Comic-Con FanX Fall 2019. It's up. I posted it. It's cool. Anyway, so Hayden Christensen and Ian McDiarmid were both at Salt Lake FanX Fall 2019, and they were both supposed to do a panel together. And that's when Disney stepped in and threatened the convention with a lawsuit if they didn't cancel the panel. So I knew that a big panel got canceled because it was right before the Twisted Toons panel, which is my favorite panel at that convention every year. And if you have a Twisted Toons panel at your local large comic book convention, then you know exactly why that's my favorite. Or, again, you can go watch my How to Comic-Con video and you'll see a little bit of it. Anyway, so that was apparently the panel that was canceled right before Twisted Toons, and the reason they wanted Salt Lake to cancel this panel was because they were afraid of spoilers. Which is very interesting, because what the heck, we know Ian McDiarmid is coming back for the final Skywalker movie. We know this is happening. We know the Emperor is going to be. But Hayden Christensen, what the heck is Hayden Christensen got to do with spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker? Rumor is Hayden Christensen is going to make an appearance in The Rise of Skywalker, and this is somehow confirmation for that rumor. I don't know how much of that I believe, just because Vader, maybe he comes back as a Force Ghost. Maybe we see him again, because we've only seen him the once as a Force Ghost, as Anakin. Maybe the dark side has Force Ghosts too? I don't know. It's very interesting to think about, and we only have a couple months to do that thinking, because December's coming up real quick. So yeah, that was the follow-up to FanX, because I, again, had no idea that was the panel that got canceled, and that was the reason that it got canceled. So the actual real news is another follow-up to Tank Girl, which we talked about in the last episode. It seems that Margot Robbie might not be playing Tank Girl. She wants to read the script first. She is going to be producing the project. She just might not be starring in the project. Also, they have set in motion Miles Yoris Perafiti. I'm so sorry about butchering that name, but he is signed on to direct. He directed something with Margot Robbie this year, Discoverland, something. Otherwise, he's done very small projects, so no idea exactly what kind of hands the movie's going to be in if he does stay to direct, because Lord knows movies go through directors sometimes like a sick kid goes through tissue. But yeah, so that's really interesting to think about. Margot's going to produce, but not star, potentially. Next, we're talking about J.J. Abrams. This is also a follow-up, because we talked a little while ago about how Abrams was looking to sign a deal with a major studio. It was looking like maybe that was going to be Disney or Warner. Well, it was Warner. And it's not necessarily Abrams directly, but it's Bad Robot, which Abrams is the executive over all the things Bad Robot. But it's $500 million, just like we figured it was going to be, and it's good for until 2024. And he's landed, which means very, very potentially Abrams is going to have his hands in the DC Extended Universe, assuming that's still a thing, even though we know it's not really a thing, and we're moving on. Next, we're talking about Black Widow. It seems that this movie is pulling out of retirement a lot of superheroes, and not just Scarlett Johansson and Hellboy. He's not going to be Hellboy in this. I just made that up. Anyway, David Harbour is going to be in it, just not Hellboy. Anyway, now the rumor is that we're going to be seeing Iron Man in the Black Widow movie. So they got Robert Downey Jr. to sign another contract to do one more movie as Iron. Very likely, if this is true, he'll be on screen for less than 5 minutes, and it will be an enormous payout for him. But still, it's very interesting that Endgame was not the last time we saw him on screen. We already know that this is a prequel because Black Widow's dead in the proper MCU right now, so unless they figure a way to bring her and him back, this is kind of cementing the fact that this is going to be a prequel, right? Though we've already got confirmation through like set pictures and things like that it's a prequel, and moving on. Our last piece of news, I know I said the Kingkiller bit was probably my most exciting piece, but this one's pretty far up there because, again, Mortal Kombat nerd. Mortal Kombat, the reboot movie, has officially begun filming as of yesterday. That's right. They are going at it. And the week leading up to that, we got a lot of teases from Makad Brooks, the guy that they have signed on to play Jax, who also was Eggs in True Blood, if you watched that show. He's done other things too. That's just the only thing I recognize him from. And so if you saw his Instagram posts, you see his new physique. He's always been a big dude. He's always been really ripped, but now his arms are massive. Does that mean we're going to see Jax's metal arms in the movie? I don't know. All I know is they're filming, and Greg Russo confirmed it on his Instagram, I believe, or no, his Twitter, and it's exciting, and I cannot wait. That does it for this episode of Headlines Nerds. For a more in-depth conversation on all these nerdy things, plus much more nerdy bits, then you can join me on my personal YouTube channel, Generally Nerdy, where I just posted the most recent episode of How to Comic-Con for Salt Lake FanX Fall 2019. That is such a mouthful. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all of the Big Show Entertainment media platforms, especially on the YouTube, where you can win yourself a new gaming console. Check the YouTube channel for more details. But again, that does it for this episode, guys, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next time for all that's happening across the nerd world.